No matter if points are gained or points are lost, there will be much to discuss. For analysis regarding tonight's Winnipeg Jets game, here are Dave Manouk, Ezra Ginsburg, and your host, Drew Mandel. The Illegal Curve post-game show, presented by Play Now, the official sports betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets, starts now.
Well, 1 out of 3 ain't bad if you're a Major League Baseball player. If you're trying to do a broadcast where you expect to have 3 people there with you, 1 out of 3 ain't great. But better one than none, and so that's why you're stuck with me, solo, Drew Mandel, the Illegal Curve post-game show. Dave and Ezzy occupied tonight with various other events. So they said, we trust Drew. What could possibly go wrong if Drew does the show by himself, talking about the Winnipeg Jets' 4-1 victory over the Buffalo Sabres? What could possibly go wrong? Well, we're about to find out what could possibly go wrong. Fingers crossed the answer is nothing, or at least nothing too serious. But in any event, it's great to be here on this Friday night with all my rowdy friends, at least in the chat. At least all my rowdy friends are in the chat if they're not on the screen with me. I only feel like I'm about 75% of the way to complete and total craziness, being in my basement, talking just to a computer screen with nobody else to talk back to me. But that's okay. We're going to have some fun anyways on this Friday night. I hope everyone is drinking or having fun responsibly, whatever they might have in front of you. And I hope you're doing it with happy holidays, holiday season, now that the month has rolled into December. We're going to bring you Jets head coach Scott Arniel as well. Producer, photographer, videographer Colby, he's setting up in the Matt Frost Media Center. So we'll hear from the Jets coach as well tonight on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Much needed victory for the Winnipeg Jets. I don't think I need to tell any of you that. You all know that. A much needed victory to get the Jets back on the winning side of the ledger. If the playoffs were to begin right this second, folks, the Jets are back in a playoff spot. They obviously won't begin right this second, but at the very least, that's where the Jets have gone back to with tonight's victory over the Buffalo Sabres. So you needed the Winnipeg Jets to get a win. I was on earlier this afternoon with our friends at Edmonton Sports Talk, and we were talking about the Jets and the Sabres, and they said, is this a must-win game? And I said, look, the Jets need to get good feelings. They need to win a game. You know, this wasn't perfect. Let's not sugarcoat tonight's performance. The first period wasn't great at all for the Winnipeg Jets, but what I would say is that they got better as the game went on, backstopped by Eric Comrie. I mean, we'll talk about Cole Koepke. We'll talk about the fourth line contributions because, miracle of miracles, the Winnipeg Jets did get some secondary scoring in tonight's game. Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, they were great as well in the offensive zone. They were dangling. They were feeling that as we come to expect from that Jets top line. And you certainly saw that on display at various times in the course of tonight's contest. But Eric Comrie, to me, again, was the linchpin and the key for the Winnipeg Jets, particularly early in tonight's contest. The Jets getting outshot 6-0 in the first, 3.5 minutes of tonight's game. And you're thinking, oh man, shades of Monday night in Buffalo. Remembering what happened not that many days ago, only 5 days ago, where the Jets were shelled by the Buffalo Sabres. And it was quite an embarrassing effort and an embarrassing performance by the Jets on Monday night. Early on in tonight's contest, symptoms of that as well. But for the Winnipeg Jets, at least they were able to turn the tide. They got the all-important opening goal in tonight's game. We'll get into that in the in the Play Now game recap. So that's still to come here on the post-game show. But you did get those feelings early on that we might be in for more of the same when it came to the Winnipeg Jets and how the Buffalo Sabres were taking it to them early on in tonight's game. Buffalo, by the way, entered tonight's game worst road record in the NHL, 2-7-2. They now, of course, fall to 2-8-2 for the Sabres. So the Jets were able to take advantage against a weak road team in the first half of this back-to-back. They, of course, need to go to Edmonton. They'll head over to Edmonton, probably get on the plane in about an hour and 9 minutes time. Our buddy Mike McIntyre, in his great feature in the Winnipeg Free Press earlier this week, mentioned that, the away team, they endeavor to be wheels up 4 hours after puck drop. So when they're traveling after a game on the same night, obviously things are different if they elect to stay overnight in a city like they did after Wednesday's game in Montreal. They elected to stay in Montreal overnight, fly back to Winnipeg on Thursday. Not an option for the Jets tonight, of course. They have to head to Edmonton to face the Oilers. By the way, the Oilers, they put up 9 goals last night on the Seattle Kraken. McDavid had a hat trick, so the Jets have to be fully aware of all that's going on with regard to the Oilers and their offensive explosion last night. But anyways, as I was saying, the Jets are going to be, hopefully they'll try to be wheels up by about 10 o'clock Central Time, head over to Edmonton. Won't be that late of a night by the time they arrive, and then they get set for the second half of the back-to-back tomorrow against the Edmonton Oilers. But the Jets, they got the win that they needed. There's lots not to necessarily love, but an interesting part about tonight's game that we have to talk about is the line juggling that occurred, I think, after the first period. After the opening 20 minutes, you saw Scott O'Neill put together a new line that we haven't seen to this point in time of Lowry, Taves, and Perfetti. Sounds like the media is rolling into the Matt Frost Media Center. So soon we'll have Scott O'Neill, and I'm sure he's going to be asked about that in his post-game availability. We'll bring that to you here momentarily on the Illegal Curve post-game show, brought to you by our friends at Play Now. But Lowry, Taves, and Perfetti together as a line for maybe the final 40 minutes or so of tonight's game. An interesting trio, to say the least. I certainly liked aspects of what I saw there. There were things about it that I liked. The size, particularly of an Adam Lowry. Here's Jets head coach Scott O'Neill.
Scott, what were the keys to get back in the win column tonight?
You know what? I thought that as a group, our details and our compete. Some of the things maybe I've talked about in the past that weren't up to speed. I thought tonight, as a whole, we did a better job. As much as you saw their speed, I thought that we did a really good job of having numbers, getting numbers back whenever possible. And I just thought it was a good, solid game where we forced them to play in their end a lot more, certainly than we did down in Buffalo, and we got rewarded for it.
Maybe in that first game there was more space in the neutral zone, and tonight you guys were connected. So how do you get here from there?
Yeah, well, we were talking lots about 5. You go out as 5. It's staying connected. It's not having the forwards stretched out one end of the ice and the D back in the neutral zone. I thought we did a really good job as breakouts. Our D were in the rush. They were a part of the rush. They were working up, and then as we talked about, the forwards pouring back and making sure that it was 5 guys pretty close together. I just thought that we did a good job on our reloads, that we worked above. We didn't attack back down again and try to pick a pass off. We did a really good job of working over above, and it just kind of helped us with the numbers.
You touched on it briefly, but back in Montreal, you were talking about building your game back up, and one of the things you were really focusing on was getting O-zone time and playing the right way there. How did you think your team built on that tonight?
Yeah, I think that there was some real good examples of that where we got zone time, and not just Scheif's line. I thought there was the other lines were doing a good job with it. I thought that sort of the building part coming off Montreal was we didn't give up any real rush chances against Montreal, and that was sort of the help tonight to kind of sort of play into that, showed some stuff and kind of worked off of what we were doing there. And it's when you can frustrate teams like that and keep them the outside. A lot of their shots, I know they had a lot. We kept a lot of them coming from the wide side of the ice, deeper in the zone. And when those things happen, you're taking the guts of the ice away.
Scott, we were all trying to think of the last time we've seen Adam Lowry line up on the wing.
No.
Well,
Or you didn't see it. Good
Jonathan
enough.
was taking some draws, right?
Jonathan took the offensive draws. Lau took the D zone.
Yeah. So is that
who's the centerman?
We were wondering, but it is. So it was more like Jonathan was moved to the wing. Yeah. What was just the
yeah?
thinking
No,
behind
I
that?
just I talked to you know what, it was kind of a little bit what Buffalo was doing, who I wanted to match up against. It was exactly that. When we had an offensive draw, JT was taking a draw and was in the middle. Anything, from the red line back, it was Lau. So Lau was the down low guy, and it was just felt it would maybe take some of the heat off of JT having to do the work in our end and then trying to get down the offensive zone or vice versa. So, Lau, I just it was kind of like the other line as well. It just something that a little bit of history with Nino, Vladdy, and Al. So I mean, it was just trying to get a matchup that I was trying to get against the opposition, but it was also trying to get some people going. And it just sometimes I thought there was some chemistry built, some offensive zone time that helped that out a little bit.
Just a quick one on Cole. He told me the other day that he's been working with Marty Johnson on maybe trying to unlock a little more of the offensive upside. That's something that you guys maybe have been waiting to see, but he had 10 goals last year with the Bruins. So have you seen maybe some signs that a night like this could be coming from him?
Well, he has such tremendous speed that, on that play there was obviously a great pass, but at the end of the day, he just blew by that defenseman. And that's something that, when I talk to him about, it's putting on his speed on display as much as possible. And you're going to get the chances. And then obviously it's putting them in. He has had some looks. He has had some opportunities. I know he was squeezing his stick like a lot of guys, but at the end of the day, it was great to see him get his first.
You said this morning that you really wanted to see the fourth line get something going. How much did they give you a reason to keep them together?
I think I said all 4 lines going. No, but when your fourth line can do that, score 2 goals, that's a big game changer, especially in the second period. It was a tight game. Like I mentioned, we did a good job of not trying to open it up, and then when those guys get that opportunity like that breakaway and a 2-on-1 or 2-on-0, whatever it was, I mean that's big for our group. I don't know if you saw our bench. Our bench was pretty excited about it as well. So it just takes a little bit of the heat off everyone else. Good, thanks.
There he goes, Winnipeg Jets head coach Scott Arniel addressing the media. Sort of abruptly coming to an end there. I wasn't quite ready for that, but that's okay. Addressing the media after the Winnipeg Jets 4-1 victory tonight over the Buffalo Sabres on home ice. Much needed victory for the Winnipeg Jets, as I mentioned at the start of tonight's Illegal Curve post-game show. It is, of course, presented by Play Now. They're the title sponsor of our programming. We thank them for their continued support. Obviously, we'll get into the goals and we'll get into the game flow and everything along those lines. But the interesting thing to, I think, take away from tonight's game, something we'll discuss obviously in more detail tomorrow morning on the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. That'll be yours truly, and Mr. Ginsburg will be driving the bus on that tomorrow morning, is the move of Lowry and Taves and sort of the, let's call it a hybrid position that Scott Arniel elected to have them in, from the second period onwards in tonight's game. I think it's become apparent. We know Doug in the chat talks about it all the time, about the lack of speed regarding Jonathan Taves. So what's a way to make it a little bit easier? Don't make him get all the way back and all the way up the ice. That'll maybe give him a little bit more of an opportunity to contribute, particularly in the offensive zone, if he doesn't have those down low center iceman responsibilities in the defensive side of things. So we saw Adam Lowry be the center when it's a defensive zone draw. We saw Jonathan Taves be the center when it's an offensive zone draw. I like it. I like the lack of rigidity by the Winnipeg Jets head coach to try and think of different things. I see here this comment from No Frills Dino saying, call in Joe Pascucci to co-host. Dino, I called Joe. I texted Joe. I was texting with Joe earlier. He has a very reasonable excuse. He's away. He's on vacation. Otherwise, he said he'd absolutely be here with me. I tried everybody. Take my word for it. Nobody wants to spend a night with you, but I'm so thankful that all, hundreds of you are spending a night with me right now. So if you haven't already done so, smash the like button and subscribe to the channel. That's all I ask of you to do while we're here on the post-game show. So if you don't mind, I appreciate you both doing that, or all of you doing that. But going back to what I was saying before I managed to distract myself, something that is difficult for me to have done, to be perfectly honest, I like the lack of rigidity by the Winnipeg Jets head coach. I like the fact that he's not going to keep trying to pound the same nail that doesn't fit into, or the same square peg into the round hole if it just doesn't fit. Try things a little bit different. Is it going to succeed guaranteed for the rest of the season? Of course not. We know that. We know that this team still has some flaws, but I like that you're trying to at least think a little bit outside of the box, because being inside the box for the Winnipeg Jets as of late hasn't worked. It says it just hasn't worked. We've seen the results. We've seen the results from this team. We've seen the struggles from this team. So we need to start thinking about things a little bit differently. And that's what I think you saw from Scott O'Neill after 20 minutes, an opening period where, to be perfectly honest, the Jets were fortunate to only be tied 1-1. They had the early 1-0 lead. We'll get into the game recap here in a minute or two. But if it wasn't for Eric Comrie, particularly in that first period, this game would have been out of hand. And that's hard to believe you're talking about when you're playing against the Buffalo Sabres team. We know where they are in the standings. We know that their talent is more indicative. They should be a better team than where they are in their standings. That has to do with the culture surrounding the organization in Buffalo. A bad culture is very hard to overcome, and it's only been a bad culture in Buffalo since Terry Pegula took ownership of that franchise. That's something for Sabres Lunch. Our buddy Marty Biron can speak to that. Mike Harrington, who's in Winnipeg, follows this team and has for years. I saw a tweet from him saying it's a cultural issue. It's a ownership issue in Buffalo. It's been like that for a long, long time. Separate issues, something for them to deal with in northern New York State regarding that. But from the Winnipeg Jets perspective, the much needed victory on home ice. Of course, the majority of their next, I think after tonight, after tomorrow against the Oilers, if I'm not mistaken, the next 5 are all on home ice. So they get a stretch at home where it feels like they've been on the road for much of the last almost 5 or 6 weeks. It seems they've had way more road games than they have had home games. So it'll be nice for the players to be able to adjust and acclimatize and just be at home and try and get some good vibes in front of the home ice, in front of the hometown crowd that populates the arena game in and game out. So a 4-1 victory for the Winnipeg Jets. Let's get into the goals. Let's get into the nitty-gritty details of tonight's contest. You know it. You love it. It's the Play Now game recap.
The Play Now game recap.
Big thanks to our friends at Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Sign up for Play Now and get a $20 lottery welcome bonus. Play Now is Manitoba's local, legal, and secure gambling site and the official betting partner of the Winnipeg Jets. Conditions apply. 18 plus. Enjoy responsibly. Big thanks to Play Now for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show and all of our broadcasts. We mentioned the slow start for the Winnipeg Jets. 6-0 were the shots on goal for the Buffalo Sabres through the first 3.5 minutes of tonight's game. The first shot for the Jets didn't come till almost at the 4-minute mark. Just not enough jump for the Winnipeg Jets to start the game. One player who did have a fair bit of jump, and I want to mention him off the outset here because I think that he was noticeable for all the right reasons in tonight's game, and that is Neil Pionk. I thought Neil Pionk was active and physical for the Winnipeg Jets. I highlighted early in the game, maybe even on the opening shift of tonight's game, Neil Pionk had a big hit on Ryan McLeod right at the Winnipeg Jets blue line. I think it sort of disrupted a zone entry attempt by the Buffalo Sabres. I thought Neil Pionk played a very headsy game, almost so much so that you would call it a heads-up hockey kind of game, the kind of game that would be supported and sponsored and taught with our friends at Wheatland Hockey. Prairie proud and hockey strong, building skills, character, and excellence on and off the ice. A fresh approach to youth hockey and development. Check them out online, wheatlandhockey.ca. They have a program for absolutely everybody, and we thank Wheatland Hockey for their continued support of the Illegal Curve post-game show. Jets do get the opening goal, much needed opening goal for the Winnipeg Jets. It comes at the 4:24 mark of the first period. It's off an offensive zone faceoff. So the Jets got some zone time. That in and of itself has been difficult for the team as of late. Offensive zone time. You have Kyle Connor is in front, and he gets his own rebound of the shot. Gabe Velarde gets it over to Kyle Connor. He's left all alone. Blown assignment by the Buffalo Sabres. You have two guys. Connor Timmins is in the neighborhood and Josh Norris is in the neighborhood, but neither of whom decide to pick up Kyle Connor, which is an odd decision given that Kyle Connor is, an elite goal scorer in this league. Kyle Connor gets not one, but two chances at it. The second one, he's able to deposit behind Jukka-Pekka Jalonen, which is way too much of a mouthful for me to say. Jukka-Pekka Luukkonen. It's going to be UPL from here on out for the remainder of this game. Let me tell you, folks. I might be doing this game by myself, but they don't pay me to use all those syllables in one player's name. 1-0. The Winnipeg Jets get the early lead. Connor, his 15th. Velarde and Sandberg. That goal by Kyle Connor made it such that the Winnipeg Jets top line have scored at that point in this game, had scored exactly 50% of all the goals the Winnipeg Jets had scored this year. It's an amazing stat. It speaks to how good the top line has been. It also speaks to how poor the secondary scoring for the Winnipeg Jets has been. Something that improved in this game, so we'll give them credit when we get to that. But that just tells you how dominant that top line and how the top line goes, the Winnipeg Jets go for so far in this season. Buffalo ties it up at the 14:44 mark. This is their second power play of the first period. The first penalty went to Morgan Barron, an offensive zone tripping penalty for tripping Tage Thompson. You hate offensive zone penalties. Coaches hate offensive zone penalties. Just a bit of a loose stick by Barron, a bit of a careless stick. The Jets are able to kill off that penalty, but then about 7 minutes later, Jonathan Taves takes another offensive zone penalty, also for tripping. This one, he trips Noah Osland, and the Sabres go to the power play late, not quite late, but I guess later in the first period, and they make no mistake. It's Jason Zucker, his 9th of the season, assist to Josh Norris, assist to Rasmus Dahlin. Sort of looks similar to the power play goal that Zucker scored on Monday night in Buffalo, in that he is in front of the net. All teams nowadays, they always front players. But if that shot gets through, and if the goalie leaves any sort of rebound, not that I'm blaming Eric Comrie on this one because he didn't make just one, he made 2 saves before Zucker was able to deposit it. But that's what happens. Zucker is behind the Jets defense. Comrie makes 2 saves. On the third attempt, though, Zucker is able to get the puck past him. Can't ask much more from Eric Comrie there. The Jets just a little bit late getting to get Zucker out of the difficult area that he's in. He is a goal scorer, has been in this league for many years. The most of his goals come from right around that blue paint, and it's exactly what you saw in this one to tie it up at 1 goal apiece. The Jets do get a power play late in the first period. Bowen Byram, he hooks Gabe Velarde. That comes with about 3.5 minutes to go in the third period. In the first period, no positive response for the Jets on this power play. No power play goals, if you will. It's in fact the Winnipeg Jets' only 5-on-4 power play of the game, because the other penalty that the Sabres took, aside from the offsetting Greenway Stanley penalties, was, of course, the Adam Lowry breakaway in the second period. That didn't materialize into a Winnipeg Jets goal, but that was it for the man advantage at 5-on-4 for the Winnipeg Jets. So really, again, similar to what we saw in Montreal, where most of the game was played at 5-on-5, or at the very least at even strength, you saw similar tonight between the Jets and the Sabres. Frankly, I like it. I don't like the parade to the penalty box. I don't like when it becomes a special teams battle. It feels not gimmicky because, special teams is always a key part of any hockey team, but it's got more of a flow to the game. The game just feels more like a hockey game we're accustomed to when there isn't the parade to the penalty box. So that's 2 games in a row where we haven't seen the parade, which I, as a fan and as an observer, appreciate. That's where it's at, 1-1 after 20 minutes. I'm just going to take a sip here because my voice is getting a little scratchy, and nobody wants a solo show featuring a guy with a hoarse voice. That would just be bad optics all around for everybody. Anyways, moving on. Second period. Hang on, I'm looking at the score sheet here. I got to make sure I'm doing a double take. Make sure my glasses. Okay, yeah, I see it. It's secondary scoring for the Winnipeg Jets, ladies and gentlemen. Heavens to Betsy, if you will. Tanner Pearson. He gets his 4th of the season. The old traditional breakaway from the defensive blue line. Oh, wait, that's not that traditional. But the Winnipeg Jets will take advantage of the a dumb play by Alex Tuch, who puts the puck into a dangerous area. He is at the defensive blue line. He's really the last man back. Rather than sending it in deep or keeping it along the boards, he tries to take it into a high-risk area. It was high-risk, low-reward, I would argue, for the Buffalo Sabres. You need better hockey IQ on this play, Alex Tuch. He doesn't have it. It's both Tuch and Josh Doan are sort of both the Sabres players who are high up in the zone at the offensive blue line. But Tanner Pearson makes the play. Cole Koepke then feeds Tanner Pearson with the puck, and Pearson is all alone on a breakaway, literally from before center all the way in on UPL, and Pearson wires it. He absolutely wires it past the Sabres goaltender to give the Jets the 2-1 lead. It comes at the 2:22 mark of the second period. The Jets have a 2-1 lead at this point in time. Just a really heads-up play by Tanner Pearson, a guy who's been in need of some good vibes, no question about it. Cole Koepke, another guy who's in need of some good vibes. He got even better vibes as this game went on. We all know that, given what's going to happen here on the 3-1 goal. But, in due time, of course. But real nice play by Tanner Pearson here. Comes in all alone. I like the straightforward approach that he has on this attempt. Not trying to do anything particularly fancy. UPL, with all due respect to him, because he's an NHL goalie, and I'm certainly not an NHL anything, maybe an NHL analyst, but that's about it, isn't great. He's a below-average NHL goaltender, so I like that you shoot. I like you take a shooting mindset in this instance. You don't try and deke him. You don't try and you don't try and be too fancy. Shoot to score. And that's what Tanner Pearson does on this play. Real nice shot, real nice play. Starts in the defensive zone. Big thanks to Alex Tuch, the Winnipeg Jets and their fan base would say, for having a bit of a brain cramp on this one. But the Jets will gladly take any help from their opposition that they can get. And it's 2-1 for the Winnipeg Jets at this point in time. Adam Lowry, as I mentioned, he gets hooked in the neutral zone by Rasmus Dahlin. So it's Dahlin is called for the penalty shot. Lowry, this is at the 10-18 mark of the second period. So an opportunity for the Jets captain to score, to make it a 3-1 lead. But UPL is up for the challenge on this one. Not the best effort I've seen from the Winnipeg Jets captain in Adam Lowry. Probably was looking to go 5-hole. It got taken away from him. Credit to UPL, but I think Adam Lowry would say that wasn't his best effort when it comes to a one-on-one penalty shot opportunity in this contest. But Jets still lead 2-1 at this point in time. Again, as I was mentioning, things are getting better for the Winnipeg Jets as this game goes on. But one thing that's been good all throughout the contest, and that's Eric Comrie. The goals, there was that big net front scramble shortly after the Lowry penalty shot, where it seemed like just a massive humanity. I thought that the Sabres were going to be able to pop one in this instance and tie it up, but the Jets, Comrie, with assistance from some of his defensive partners and the quote-unquote five-man unit that Scott Arniel was referencing, managed to keep the puck out of the net, get it out of harm's way, and that's something that very helpful for the Winnipeg Jets. Connor, Scheifele, Velarde, they were noticeable all game long. When they were on the ice, by and large, the puck seemed to be in the Buffalo Sabres zone. They were dancing really well. There was a dangerous shift I have here with about 3 minutes to go in the second period. A dangerous opportunity for that line. They don't get it into the back of the net, but Cole Koepke, with 1:18 to go, and this is a real killer for the Buffalo Sabres, Cole Koepke finally, a guy who had double-digit goals for the Boston Bruins last year, gets his first of the season. Assist to Morgan Barron, assist to Dylan DeMello. This comes, as I mentioned, at the 18:42 mark of that second period. It's a nice play. Morrissey over to DeMello. DeMello headmans it up the ice real quick. And you see what happens if you look at sort of the dots that I'm looking at, the game's visualizer on NHL.com, and you can catch it on the replay, is that, Koepke and Josh Norris get sort of tangled up to some extent in the neutral zone. Innocent, not something that would have been, that was an interference or anything along those lines, but Josh Norris gets turned around. And when he gets turned around, that gives Koepke that half step that he needs. And then a real nice play by Morgan Barron to identify that Koepke is coming downhill and is the trailer on the play. Morgan Barron stops up really well. You always hear Kevin and Dan on the broadcast say he stops up and he finds the trailer. That's exactly what you saw on this play. Barron with a real smart stop up, gets it to Koepke. Koepke's coming downhill. He dekes out UPL and tucks it into the open net. I'm sure you saw that sort of sigh of relief, that monkey off the back of Cole Koepke to get his first goal as a member of the Winnipeg Jets. And it comes on a nice play, a nice goal, nice connectivity, starting at the back end, starting with Morrissey, starting with DeMello, up to Barron, Koepke into the back of the net. And after 40 minutes, the Winnipeg Jets have an all-important 2-goal lead over the Buffalo Sabres. Sabres, as I mentioned, coming into tonight's game, 2-7-2 on the road. They're not a team that should be able to come back. Not that they don't have the talent, because they certainly do have a ton of talent. They're oozing with talent. It's actually a shame that their record is as poor as it is, given the litany of talent that they have. But they're not a team that should be able to come back from 2 goals down when you're 2-7-2 on the road to start the season. And I thought the Winnipeg Jets played a pretty good third period in keeping most things to the outside. Scott Arniel said similar when he was addressing the media after the game from the Matt Frost Media Center, something we bring you here on the Illegal Curve post-game show, courtesy of our buddy Colby Spence. Things to the outside. Neil Pionk, mentioned him as part of the Wheatland Hockey heads-up hockey play of the game, had a real active stick, snuffing out some zone entries early in that early in the third period, maybe even on the first shift of the third period. The Jets had a 3-on-1 opportunity, the Taves-Lowry Perfetti line, or I guess it's the Lowry-Taves-Perfetti line when it's considered in the offensive zone. Whatever you want to call the line, 17-19-91 had a 3-on-1 opportunity, an odd man rush. They didn't do much with it, but you haven't seen many things from that line vis-a-vis odd man rushes or vis-a-vis those players and offensive opportunities. There was the big hit on Cole Koepke that the Buffalo Sabres laid on him. It was Matthias Samuelsson, the big defenseman. He really rocked Cole Koepke, shades of Adam Lowry on Wednesday night in Montreal. Big hit behind the Sabres net. Koepke bounces back up and gets back up the ice. You like the effort. You like the response. Eric Comrie mentioned him. He had a kick save off a shot from the point that was, I think, through some traffic. Real nice, solid, comfortable-looking Eric Comrie. I thought that would be the word I would use to describe Eric Comrie in tonight's game. Comfortable. He looked steady. He's been really good these last 2 games. I mean, he's given up the 2 goals or 3 goals total in regulation over the last 125 minutes, and not on a small number of shots on goal, I might add. Buffalo tonight, 35 shots on goal, 26 shots on goal after the first 40 minutes of tonight's game. Eric Comrie had to be sharp. He had to be sharp on Wednesday in Montreal, and we saw that carry over tonight against the Buffalo Sabres. Really impressive performance by the Jets goaltender. The Jets thought they made it 4-1. Mark Scheifele, the rebound off of the end boards, the Neil Pionk shot, he tucks it behind UPL, but it's taken off the board because literally, folks, 21 seconds before the goal is scored, the Jets enter the zone about a millisecond offside. Ridiculous. Not saying that because it has anything to do with the Winnipeg Jets, but this is the scourge of offside reviews. They are silly. They are pointless. I'd love to see the NHL get rid of them. This is all stemming from one horribly blatant offside that was missed, I think that by a linesman who, I don't know what happened to him in that, had an absolute brain cramp. You can't tell me that 21 seconds before a puck goes in the net, because a player is a millimeter offside, the goal should come off the board. It's just silliness. The NHL should hopefully come to its senses at some point in time. Like I said, they won't. It's silly. You live with it. I'm not complaining about the decision in this case. It did look to be offside. I'm complaining about the existence of the rule in the first place. You didn't think you'd get through an entire Illegal Curve post-game show when I'm doing it by myself without me being a little bit of a curmudgeon, did you? That wasn't possible. You all know better than that at some point in time, you're going to see old, angry, yelling at the clouds Drew make a brief appearance here on the post-game show, even in the course of a Winnipeg Jets 4-1 victory. They do get that extra goal, the fourth goal into the empty net with 34 seconds to go. It's Gabe Vilardi, his 12th of the year. Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele. There was some hooks before. There was some trips before. The refs looked the other way on those. Those were all sort of committed by Buffalo against the Jets, by the way. Eventually, Kyle Connor tees it up for Gabe Vilardi, and he lays into a drive right down the fairway, 300 yards into the back of the Buffalo Sabres net to make it 4-1 tonight in downtown Winnipeg against the Buffalo Sabres. Much needed victory by the Winnipeg Jets. Even before the 4-1 goal, I guess it might have been after, according to my notes, Morgan Barron and Tanner Pearson, they had a 2-on-1. Barron with the shot, UPL made the save, but you like the approach. You like the odd man rushes. You like the offensive zone time generated by the Winnipeg Jets. That's what you saw tonight at times that you hadn't seen for so long. But more importantly than anything else, it's a victory in the win column for the Jets tonight over the Buffalo Sabres. They don't get to rest on their laurels, though, because they head to Edmonton. They'll be in Edmonton in a few hours' time to face the Oilers tomorrow night, a late game, 9 o'clock, second half of the doubleheader on Hockey Night in Canada. And we'll, of course, have an Illegal Curve post-game show for you tomorrow night, but we'll also have an Illegal Curve hockey show for you in about 11 and a half hours time. So plenty of Illegal Curve coming your way. As I mentioned, I was on with Edmonton Sports Talk earlier today, and they sort of teed me up at the end of the interview. They said, what's in store for us at Illegal Curve? And I said, well, we got a post-game show coming up tonight. Then we got a Saturday morning show coming up at 9 a.m. And then we have a post-game show tomorrow night. I said, we've got about 3 broadcasts in the span of about 26 hours. So there's going to be plenty of Illegal Curve coming your way. And that's the case for you and us and all of us here on this Friday night. Speaking of which, much more to come here on the Illegal Curve post-game show. Preview tomorrow morning's Illegal Curve hockey show. See if there's anything interesting coming out of the Jets dressing room in terms of post-game comments and whatever else comes to my mind. We're all here together. It's about 9:25 on a Friday night. Hope you're having fun. Thanks for joining me. This is the Illegal Curve post-game show. Don't go anywhere. Much more of me, and more of me still to come.
I want to thank you for not betting with Play Now and choosing our illegal gambling site instead.
Because we couldn't afford things like this. without your money.
So much of your money.
Now you might have questions like,
do our profits benefit your community?
No.
or bet with Play Now, Manitoba's local legal and secure gambling site.
Dining, entertainment, parking, and convenience, all in one spot. City Place is located in the heart of downtown Winnipeg, attached to the Canada Life Centre. Whether you're working, living, or out for a night in the downtown, make City Place your go-to destination before or after the fun finds you. Lunchtime, game time, anytime. Visit City Place at 333 St. Mary Avenue, next to Canada Life Centre.
Boys, I've made an important life decision, and I need your support.
Oh boy.
I've decided to get a grill.
You mean a barbecue grill for cooking? Like, that's not an important life decision, Ezzy.
No. A grill for my teeth.
A grill for your teeth? Do I even want to know why you're doing this?
It's simple, really. Every time I go to Holt Dental, I get treated so very well by Dr. John and his team that I need to keep finding additional reasons to go back. I rely on Holt Dental for all of my dental needs, and they do it all, from regular cleanings to cosmetic dentistry. Plus, they have free parking at their front door, and you know how much I love my convenient parking.
For all your dental needs, Illegal Curve recommends Holt Dental, conveniently located on Taylor Avenue near Grant Park Mall. For more information, visit them online at holtdental.ca.
Guys, big news. You know how I'm always misplacing my cool stuff? Well, Big Daddy has a new hobby, labeling.
Labeling is your new hobby.
You got it. Ever since I discovered Label Daddy's washable labels, I just can't stop labeling. I'm labeling water bottles, hockey sticks, cereal boxes, roast chickens, team jerseys. Everything deserves a label.
I can think of a label or two for you.
Best part is that Label Daddy is the only label company officially licensed by the NHL. So my labels are personalized and can have the Jets logo on them. Just search NHL on the Label Daddy website.
For almost 2 decades, Label Daddy has been helping people to not lose their stuff. It's the most affordable insurance policy around.
For customized, washable, peel and stick labels with no ironing or sewing required, visit labeldaddy.com and search NHL for the label pack belonging to your favorite team.
For over 40 years, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club has been Winnipeg's home for stand-up comedy. Renowned in the comedy world as a must-play venue, Rumors has recently been named Canada's top comedy club and a top 5 comedy club in North America. From birthday parties to date nights to fundraisers, wedding socials, and everything in between, Rumors is your destination for the best live entertainment Winnipeg has to offer. For information on upcoming shows, Rumors' incredible promotions, and to purchase show tickets, visit rumorscomedyclub.com.
At Boston Pizza, a fast lunch doesn't have to mean fast food. Now you can get a $15 lunch served in just 20 minutes, including your choice of a main, side, and drink. That's right, lunch for $15 at your local Boston Pizza.
9:30 in the evening. Welcome back to the Illegal Curve post-game show. I'm going to do my best to keep this short so that I still have a voice tomorrow morning for the Illegal Curve hockey show. That's going to get underway in about 11 and a half hours time, 9 a.m. Sarah Orlesky is going to join us. Michael Trakos is going to join us. 2 great guests, so we want you to join us as well. That's tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., the Illegal Curve hockey show back here on our YouTube channel. Talk about Jets, talk about the Jets and the Oilers, talk about everything going on. It's going to be myself and Ginsburg. Am I going to yell at him? Odds are pretty good. I'm going to yell at him at least once in the 2-hour broadcast, but that's going to be fun for the whole family is all that's going to be. So be sure to tune in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the Illegal Curve hockey show. And then, of course, tomorrow night after the game for the Illegal Curve post-game show. If you haven't already done so, folks, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications on, because every time we go live, we want you here to join us on the Illegal Curve post-game show. There'll be plenty more post-game coverage to come on illegalcurve.com. Once Dave M is done with his obligations, he's going to get his usual post-game activities up and running. So we look forward to that as well. I want to thank all of you for joining us. I hope that this last 45 minutes or so focused on me hasn't been too painful for anybody. But of course, if you want to send your complaints, you can send them to Illegal Curve Hockey, care of we don't have a mailing address. So that's what we think about that. How about that for some biting commentary to wrap up tonight's program? Big thanks to all the sponsors of Illegal Curve. They make the post-game show, they make the Saturday show, and they make the website a possibility. Play Now, of course, Rumors Restaurant and Comedy Club, Holt Dental, City Place, Wheatland Hockey, Boston Pizza, and of course our friends at Label Daddy as well support these fine businesses because of their continued support of Illegal Curve Hockey. Jets victorious tonight 4-1. Thanks to all of you for joining us. In case you missed any of it, the replay is available immediately on the website. And of course, the podcast edition of the show will be available shortly thereafter as well. If you haven't already done so, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications on. We'll see everybody tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for the Illegal Curve Hockey Show. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Until then, we wish you good night and good luck. And thanks, everyone, for joining us. This has been the Illegal Curve Post-Game Show.